am live once again. Back at it again. Because I really want to keep playing Umineko. So here I will. Hope everyone's having a good day. Mine's not that bad. I think something I think we're gonna get some more murders soon. Servants put the dishes and empty cans on the serving cart and started to head out into the corridor. Behind them, Aunt Rosa was talking to Dr. Nanjo about something in a small voice.
わかりました。参りましょう。
ええ、よろしくお願いしますね。
Dr. Nanjo closed the book he had been reading, rose from the sofa, and followed after the servants. Aunt Rosa stuck her head out in the hallway. After seeing that they were completely out of sight, she closed the door and spoke.
みんな聞いて。これで今ここにいるのは後ろ宮の人間だけね。
確かにそうなりますね。狼を全部追い出したってことっすか、ローザおばさん。
That one sentence, Aunt Rosa's gaze grew sharp. Apparently, she had picked up on that sarcasm. She laughed lightly.
バトラ君は頭の回転が速いのね。
早い。
賢い子は好きよ。話が早いわ。
I don't like you, Rosa.
おお、バトラー頭いい？これ解ける？64ページの難しいの。おお。
マリアは少しの間テレビを見ていなさい。ママはバトラ君たちとお話があるの。
おお。
ローザおばさん。用心深いのは悪いことじゃないと思うけど、さすがに疑り深すぎるのもどうかと思うよ。
真の犯人がベアトリーチェかどうかは別にして、少なくとも使用人たちがその一味であることを疑うことはできると思うの。
I mean, she's not
兄さんたち
wrong.
が殺されていた最初の殺人、とても残酷な仕打ちがされていたわよね。あれが一人でできる真似に見える。
謎の来客、ベアトリーチェ様が夜鍋をしてチクチクやったのかもしれねえぜ。
ジェシカちゃんの部屋の扉をめぐるマスターキーの件は使用人の誰かが関わっている証拠じゃない。
No, not necessarily. Only the master key could have locked the door to Jessica's room. So we can only suppose that one of the servants did it. No, wait.
チェス盤をひっくり返すぜ。おかしいよ、ローザおばさん。なんで犯人はジェシカを殺した後わざわざ施錠したんだ。施錠すればマスターキーの持ち主が疑われるのは必然。わざわざ施錠する必要がないぜ。そうだよ、バトラ君の言う通りだ。わざわざ疑われるようなことをする理由がない。
それは面白い考えよね。もちろん私もそれは考えた。だとしたら施錠した人物は使用人を疑わせたくてマスターキーなしであの扉を閉めた。でもそれは不可能でしょ。
That's right. If there existed some trick that could lock the door without a master key, that would make this a great disguise for casting doubt on the servants. If the culprit's goal was for us to isolate ourselves from the group so they could attack us one by one, this trick would also be effective at giving rise to paranoia. But there was no way to lock that door without using a master key.
マスターキーを使わずに閉める方法がない。ルドルフ兄さんの言っていた悪魔の証明になるんじゃない？私たちには想像もつかない方法で閉められたのかもしれない。私たちに思いつかないからといって未知のトリックがあることを否定することにはならない。
そりゃそうだけどよ。つまりあれか、疑わしきは黒ってわけなのか。
具体的なトリックはわからないけれど、それでも外角はわかるの。申し訳ないけど カノン君を犯人だと仮定すると非常に簡単に説明できる。死体がない理由までね。
だってカノン君はマスターキーを持ってなかったんですよ。他の使用人ならともかくカノン君にだけは施錠はできなかったはず。
なるほど。それでローザおばさんはジェシカの部屋に入って早々に俺たちにクローゼットなんかを探せと言い出したわけか。
Statler, you're pretty
ロー
slow.
ザおばさんこそ普段の様子から想像できるより頭の回転が速いな。
妹の頭の回転速度は常に姉マイナス1よ。今は誰にも気を使う必要がないからせいせいするわ。
George Aniki realized she was referring to Aunt Ava and seemed a little uncertain about how he should take that sarcasm.
ごめん、僕にも分かるように説明してほしいな。カノン君のマスターキーはジェシカちゃんのポケットに入って密室に閉じ込められていた。施錠した後に部屋の外からポケットに入れるなんて芸当は不可能なはず。
違うんだよ兄貴。ローザおばさんの想像しているやり方ならこのトリックはカノン君にしか使えない。そしてジェシカのポケットにマスターキーを入れたまま鍵なしで施錠することができる。そしてその結果として死体もなくなることになる。
どうやって鍵なしでどうやって施錠するんだい？
簡単よ。ジョージ君だって帰宅したら施錠するでしょ。つまみをひねってカチリとね。
まさか。いやでもカノン君の姿はどこにも。
兄貴にもピンときたみてえだな。ローザおばさんが室内を探したのはそういうことだ。内側から鍵を閉めジェシカのポケットに鍵を突っ込んだカノン君がどこかに隠れて俺たちをやり過ごそうとしているのを探したんだ。
It was the simplest kind of closed room trick. It meant him hiding inside the closed room after the murder was committed. Then all he had to do was get out after those who had discovered the body left and closed the room. And the closed room murder would work perfectly. But he's
私たち
dead.
はあの部屋を探したけれど何も見つけられなかった。でもだからといってあの部屋に使用人たちしか知らない秘密の隠し通路のようなものがないとは言えない。それがどこに隠されていたかはわからないけれど、その隠し通路を仮定し推理することで彼しかありえないと断言できるのよ。
その推理はよ俺も一番最初に考えた。一番嫌な推理だから一番最初にその可能性を潰したかった。
カノンはこの部屋で殺された。である。そなたはカノンが犯人であると疑いそうになったため、真っ先にその可能性を潰すために。わかっておるわかっておる。
だからその次に考えたのはこうだった。あの部屋にいたのは実は3人だったという説だ。ジェシカとカノン君は被害者、そして犯人である来客ベアトリーチェも一緒にいたという考えだ。
そなたは人間であるわらわが魔法を使わずに犯行を行ったことにしたいのだったな。なるほど。そなたにぴったりの陳説であるぞ。
お前は2人を殺し内側から施錠した。そしてカノン君の死体を担いで普通の人は気づかない秘密の方法、つまり隠し扉を使って部屋から脱出したんだと読んだ。しかしお前に赤で言われちまった。あの部屋に隠し扉の類はないってな。
うん。お前たちの知らない秘密の通路は存在せぬぞ。ノックスだったかバンダインだったか 何でもミステリーには秘密の通路があってはいけないらしい。そのお作法にわらわも従ったということよ。つまり名探偵は部屋を調べ尽くさずして隠し通路がないと断言できるわけだ。人間の推理ごっことはなんとお気楽なものよの。
くそ、でけえこと言いやがるぜ。ありがとよ。魔女様のお取り計らいのおかげで俺も部屋を探し尽くさずにあの部屋に隠し扉がないと断言できるぜ。
うん。この部屋に隠し扉はない。扉と窓以外に出入りする方法はない。
ってことはよ、今ローザおばさんがぶってる自信満々の仮説は間違ってるってわけだ。しかも悔しいことにこの仮説は反証不能だ。魔女のお前は赤で隠し扉はないと断言すればそれで決着する。
Yeah, that'd be really frustrating.
しかし人間の俺はローザおばさんにそれを反論しても受け入れられないだろう。隠し扉がないことを人間は証明できない。悪魔の証明になっちまう。くそ、魔女ってのは便利だな。
そんな、あるかないかもわからない隠し扉を理由にカノン君を犯人呼ばわりするなんて、僕は納得できないな。
納得できないならより納得できる推理を聞かせて。ないのよ。私はずっと考えてる。これしかないのよ。ジョージ君はシャノンちゃんと仲が良かったわね。だから使用人全員が犯人であることは受け入れがたいと思うの。私もシャノンちゃんが犯人の一味であるなんて信じたくない。でも全員であるか否かはともかく、確実にあの中に犯人もしくは共犯がいるのよ。それだけは見誤っちゃダメ。
カノン君以外にも狼がいると見てたんだな。ジェシカの部屋で犯人はカノン君だと大騒ぎしたのは使用人たちの反応を見るためだったって。
ええ、そうよ。そしてその結果、私は一層の疑いを持つに至ったわ。確実に使用人の中に狼がいる。確実にね。そして狼と羊のパズルのように普段はおとなしくしているけれど、チャンスがあったら襲ってくるに違いないの。ジェシカちゃんは一人で船に乗った羊よ。あのパズルでは頭数の時は襲ってこないけど、私たちのパズルは違う。チャンスと人数次第なら頭数でも襲ってくる。ジェシカちゃんが殺されたように。
僕は怒りたいことがある。じゃあ厨房へ行かされてるシャノンは危険な状態じゃないか。今すぐ僕たちも厨房へ行くべきだ。誰が狼だろうと狼でなかろうと、僕たち全員が揃っていれば均衡するならそれを保ち続けるべきだと思う。
シャノンちゃんはお父様のところへ源氏さんとその時に孤立したはずなのに殺されなかった。源氏さんも狼ではないから。違うわ、二人とも狼だったからよ。
シャノンは悪事の片棒を担ぐような人じゃない。いくらローザおばさんでもそれは聞き流せません。今の発言に対し僕は取り消しを要求します。
兄貴の前で悪いが、その論法エヴァおばさんの雰囲気にそっくりだな。こっちが反論できなきゃ自動的に自分が正しいみたいな。やっぱり血は争えないな、おばさん。
私だって今の自分はあまり褒められたものじゃないとは思ってる。でもね、私は母なの。マリアの無事を守るためなら鬼にもなるわ。本当ならマリアと二人きりでどこかに閉じこもっていたいくらいよ。でも私は同時にあなたたちの
Yeah,
母
so
でも
she's
ある
gonna
つもり
start
なの。
beating you guys.
今やあなたたちは 私の子供も同然。私は自分の子じゃないからといってあなたたちを見捨てたりしない。絶対。
そりゃどうも。
私はあなたたちの母として油断しないでと警告したかっただけなの。常に私の目の届くところにいて、私があなたたちを守ってあげる。
ついでに俺たちが狼でないことも監視してくれるってわけだ。そりゃありがたいぜ。そういうおばさんは
Yeah,
自
that's what
分が
I'm
狼
saying.
ではないって証明はできるのかよ。
ええ、できるわ。
即答っすね。どうやって？
これよ。これが証拠よ。
Aunt Rosa lifted her gun and pointed the barrel at me, but it was only for an instant. She immediately lowered the gun, laughing impishly. You don't have proof, you just have a gun, but to me, the time I spent staring down the barrel of the gun felt like an eternity.
その銃がどうローザおばさんが犯人でないことを証明するというんですか？
考えてもみて。私が犯人だったらどう？使用人たちが出ていったこの千載一遇の機会を逃すと思う？あなたたちをズドンと撃って、あとは適当な言い訳をするだけよ。窓の外にベアトリーチェが現れて銃を撃ってきた。私は2発を撃ち返したと称して2発分の空薬莢を床に捨てればいい。
そりゃすげえ乱暴な理論だが、確かに。
クラウス兄さんが昔よく言ってたわ。力こそ正義ってね。これがまさにそうなのかしら。ごめんなさいね、二人。私も今朝からの事件続きでかなり冷静さを失ってる。
You never had
普段の私を
composure.
知る二人から見れば、
Hey Elise, how are
今の
you?
私は余裕がなくて少し短気そうに見えるかもしれない。でも
I
分かって
hate
る。
this bitch.
私は悪意ある犯人からあなたたちを守りたい。そのためには鬼になる。それだけのことなの。怒らせるようなことを言ってごめんなさいね。バトラ君、ジョージ君、仲直りしましょう。
I'm doing good. Thank you. An unsatisfied expression rose to George Oniki's face. He probably couldn't forgive the damage done to Shannon's honor. What about me? Several bits of circumstantial evidence hinted at the servants' participation. I didn't want to believe that one of them was the culprit or possibly colluding with the culprit, but in our current situation, that was a little more than wishful thinking. Whom should I believe? In the first place, who's the culprit? Are there accomplices, and if so, how many? Seems I've only been suspecting the people we know. I've quickly forgotten that the 19th person, the guest Beatrice, who arrived yesterday and boldly claimed to be the Golden Witch. In fact, I still haven't seen her face. I heard she greatly resembled the witch in that portrait, but since I haven't seen her directly, no matter how hard I try, it doesn't really feel to me like a 19th person is on this island. So I've been subconsciously hallucinating that the culprit's one of the 18. Damn it. Come out, Beatrice. If you're the bad guy, then act like the bad guy and show yourself, laughing in a high-pitched voice and mocking us. Just like the bad guy in one of those dramas who, even when they're exposed as the culprit, aggressively says, "Where's your proof?"
証拠は終わりかの？
うっせえ。てめえはしばらく黙ったろ。
There were 5 humans in the kitchen, but it was very quiet, filled with only the sound of the rain. It was only accented by the sound of Shannon and Kumasawa washing the dishes. Goda was using the leftovers from breakfast and lunch as ingredients for a soup. Rosa had suspected that poison might have been added to the food, so they decided to eat canned goods, but it hadn't been too satisfying. But Goda thought she was being too cautious, so he was spontaneously creating a soup to be served only to those who wanted some. Shannon and Kumasawa were washing dishes that the food had been arranged on. On the inside, they thought that maybe Goda should wash them, since he'd been the one who wanted the food arranged on the plates in the first place, but they left their complaints unsaid for the time being. Yeah, for real. Genji and Nanjo were facing each other across a crude chess set that had many years of experience. The game had still only just begun, and because the opening game of these experienced players had been honed to perfection, it looked like a ceremony where they just moved specific pieces in a specified order.
良い匂いですね。やはり缶詰ではこうはいきませんね。
開封した食材だけで作りましたので、毒が混入しているなんてことはありませんよ。皆さんの分もお作りしていますので、ぜひ食べましょう。もちろん私もお毒味しますよ。安心して召し上がってください。
本当にいい匂いですね。合田さんのまかない料理は本当に美味しいです。
美味しい材料を買ってきて、美味しい料理が作れるのは当たり前です。私は師匠にあり合わせのもので美味しく作るまかない料理を極めてこそ真の。
それはいい師匠でした。おかげで私はとても美味しいスープをごちそうになれそうです。
親族の皆様にお召し上がりいただくための材料で作ることに。
ローザさんも朝からのいろいろで無理もないことです。
でもそのおかげで美味しい食材のスープが飲めるのですからね。
Rosa had fervently warned everyone that they didn't understand the danger they were in and they must assume the poison was mixed in with their food. The mood at the time had led them to agree, but hunger wasn't something that could be swayed by a momentary emotion like that.
皮肉にも普段の私たちではとても味わえないスープとなりました。できるなら客間の皆さんにもぜひ振る舞いたいところなのですが。
ローザ様のご指示に背いている以上、よした方がいいだろう。飲みたいものだけ飲むといい。
見えないところで上手に息抜きするのも使用人の心得でございますものね。
When Kumasawa cackled, Shannon and Goda laughed too. It seemed that in the space where only the fellow servants were gathered, they could relax quite a bit. Shannon didn't like Goda's occasional dishonesty, but she knew that there was no falsehood in his childish smile when he cooked, nor in his desire for people to enjoy his food. So even though it was a little aggravating to be made to wash the dishes, she couldn't really hate him. I can hate him very easily. However, they couldn't have dreamed that Rosa was calling them wolves in the parlor at exactly the same moment they were spending their time peacefully like this. At times, several of the students heard a sound like something being dragged, and then a thump. It seemed like the sound made by a servant outside the back door when they were carrying a mountain of trash bags on a rainy day, or maybe when a servant was returning from work wearing a raincoat. So at first the sound didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary to them, but they soon realized right now everyone was either in the kitchen or the parlor, so who could possibly be at the back door? As the servants all looked at each other, they checked to make sure that each of them knew what that sound meant.
誰でございます？
Servants knew the mansion's layout well, so they understood how incomprehensible it would be for someone from the parlor to actually go out in the typhoon, go all the way around and come up to this back door. Then was it Kinzo? They couldn't imagine that Kinzo, who never left his study, would dash out to the middle of this typhoon and come to the back house where only low-class people ever exited or entered.
気のせいじゃないですよね。
Shin and Kumasawa drew close together, fearfully looking at the back door.
どちら様ですか?
As Goda fearfully approached the back door, he called out, and his eyes flashed towards the butcher's knife that sat in a nearby sink. He didn't pick it up yet, because there was still a possibility it was a member of the family. However, that possibility was impossible. There was no response from across the door to his question. Maybe his voice had been so quiet it hadn't reached to the wind and rained outside.
源氏さん。
南條先生と女たちは下がって。
一体どなたなんですかな。
Genji took a knife with a classical design from stationery box. It was something to be used instead of a paper knife to open envelopes, but it was still a knife, so the blade on it could injure someone. Genji hit Genji hit it in his sleeve with a well-practiced motion. Then he approached the back door himself, giving Goda a silent nod. Goda cautiously approached the back door and slowly started to open it. Shadow of a person suddenly shuffled into sight, landed on its knees, and fell over. Goda fell backwards onto his backside and couldn't get up. The human shadow was soaked with rain, smeared with mud, and drenched with blood.
カノン、大丈夫か、南條先生。
It was Cannon. His breath was feeble, and the puddles of mud he left were quickly drenched bright red. When Nanjo held him and he turned him face up, there was a deep, gruesome wound right in the center of his chest, as though he'd been stabbed by a spear or something. Even now, deep red blood poured out from there.
これはひどいですよ。どうしましょう。救急箱ですか。救急箱ですか。
カノンさん、傷口に手を当ててしっかり押さえてください。
That cannon was already dead.
使用人室のベッドに運びましょう。皆さん、手を貸してください。
さあ、カノンさん、しばらく我慢してください。
しっかりして。もう大丈夫よ。だから傷口から手を離さないで。
とにかく使用人室へ運ぼう。熊沢ローザ様にカノンが見つかったことのこと。
待って、ローザ様にはダメ。
待ってください。カノンさんがローザ様にはダメだと。
どういう意味なの、カノン君。
今はいい。
I don't get it. I thought he was already
早
dead.
く使用人室へ運ぼう。熊沢、ローザ様にはまだお伝えするな。カノンに事情を聞いてからにする。
He told them not to tell Rosa right after appearing in the States can only mean something very disquieting. An eerie anxiety rose to their faces.
さあ皆さん、急いで運びましょう。早く早く。
Cannon's wound was unbelievably deep, and judging from Nanjo's pale face, it was a miracle he was still conscious.
これは
I don't understand what's happening. I don't really like that it's doing
何か
this.
槍のようなもので刺されたようです。
Like, Cannon was supposed to be dead, so...
肺まで届いてなければなんとか持つかも。とにかく止血を。
No matter how much Nanjo tried to wipe off that gushing deep red blood, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. He couldn't wipe it all away. Each time the wound was aggravated, causing Cannon to cry in anguish.
カノン君、カノン君、カノン君、しっかりして。しっかりして。
南條先生、替えのタオルです。なんてむごい。
容体はどうですか。
本音を言うと生きているのが信じられん刺されどころが幸運だったのかもしれん。だが出血がひどすぎる。輸血が必要だが明日まで無理だ。
ローザ様が僕たちを。
What?
喋らないで。傷口が開い。
ローザ様がやってきて、お嬢様と。
Wait, what?
僕は
なんですって。
I don't know. What the fuck is happening? This is pissing me off.
そ
Is this Beatrice making people suspect? Like, this might. Okay, maybe this isn't actually canon and it's Beatrice, like.
間違いないのか。
はい、間違いなく。
さあ、もう喋らないで。熊沢さん、もう一つの救急箱を取ってください。
源氏さん、ローザ様がなんてことはあり得るのでしょうか。
わからん。
Regarding Nanjo and Kumasawa, who were struggling hard and stained with blood as they tried to stop the bleeding, Genji and Goda face each other. Because if what Kana had said was the truth, Rosa was the culprit who killed Jessica.
おのれ、ローザめ、よくもお嬢様を。
What? I thought it was Beatrice.
殺してやる。
Cannon screamed even more hatefully. His hate-filled voice made it seem like he was seeing Jessica being harmed right before his eyes.
確かにローザ様がお嬢様を殺す理由はあるかもしれない。後ろ宮家が全滅すれば遺産は全てローザ様のもの。だとしたらバトラ様やジョージ様も危険なのでは。ローザ様は銃を持っている上に今客間には彼らしかいない。源氏さん、これはかなりまずいことでは。
Shannon suddenly ran out into the corridor. Her expression was complex and tragic, as though she didn't know what to believe. I don't know what the fuck's happening. Shannon ran to where? The inside of the mansion had been scrupulously clean, so it probably wouldn't be easy to find. She might find it if she searched the rose garden, but they'd probably been lost in this wind. That's right. The boiler room isn't cleaned very often. If she went there, she might be able to find it. Shannon ran downstairs to find that in the underground boiler room. The mirror? Did some medicine take effect at the brink of death, or was Cannon finally feeling beyond pain? For the time being, at least Cannon's painful gasping had subsided. Nanjo apparently didn't view this as a very good sign. He didn't let his eyes off Cannon for a second. Kumasawa firmly gripped Cannon's hand and kept encouraging him, so the willpower to keep him alive didn't fade away. Genji and Goda seemed uncertain how to respond to the truth Cannon had risked his life to
ロー
deliver.
ザ様の銃は確か4発か5発の弾が込められたはずだ。
決して少ない数ではないですね。でもあの銃は弾の装填に結構な慣れが
I don't
必要だ
know,
ったは
because
ず。
Rosa died the first time.
一発目は撃たせてしまうかもしれませんが、みんなで襲いかかれば次を撃たせずに銃を奪いと。
この島には医者はいても薬はなく、撃たれどころが悪ければ死ぬぞ。
それは分かっている。それより早く行動を起こさないとまた次の事件が起こる可能性も。私たちはローザ様にうまく追い出された気がします。今頃ジョージ様やバトラ様が殺されている可能性も。
Genji doesn't seem to care.
そんな危険な相手なら無理に。
しかし明日までは長い。どんな手を打ってくるか想像もつきませんよ。源氏さん、こちらから仕掛けるべきです。せめて10歳理由をこじつけて奪えばなんとかなるかも。
弾は4、5発じゃありませんか。ということは私たち全員を殺すには足りないということです。迂闊に刺激しなければきっとローザ様もむやみには。
She's an abusive bitch. She would be that rash.
僕たちを皆殺しにすると言った。
Cannon, who thought they thought was sleeping quietly, suddenly started talking brightly, almost as though he'd been awake this whole time and suddenly opened his mouth. Cannon looked firm and steady, which relieved Nanjo a bit, but considering the depth of that wound, he couldn't wipe away a certain creepy feeling. What's happening? He knew because he was a doctor. After losing so much blood, Cannon might have easily lost consciousness, yet somehow he was still intensely aware of his surroundings. Yeah, nothing's making sense. Was it youth or was it tenacity? Sometimes the power of human life surpasses common knowledge. While stopping the bleeding, Nanjo had groped around a bit inside the bleeding hole with tweezers to make sure there were no foreign objects, and the great depth of the wound had shocked him. It had certainly reached as far as his lungs, and yet... No, but the fact that he's still alive is wonderful, but Cannon had spoken clearly. He'd hatefully stated the one named Rosa made this room. So maybe Beatrice is like possessing his dead body to do this? Cursing and raging over and over and over.
あいつは親方様の財産を独り占めするために台風が過ぎ去るまでにどんな手を使ってでも皆殺しにする気なんだ。
くそ、なんて人だ。源氏さん、どうしましょう。私たちにも何か武器がいるのでは。
にわかには信じられん。ローザ様がそのようなことを。
源氏様、信じる信じないじゃない。あいつが僕に、この僕が聞いたんです。どうして信じてくれないんですか？
Because you're Beatrice.
起きないで。傷に触ります。
Cannon sat up on the bed, speaking to Genji, who doesn't seem to be willing to believe Cannon's
あ
story.
いつは僕たちを必ず全員殺す。もうきっと客間の方々も殺されているに違いありません。僕らが先に殺さなければ必ず僕らが先に殺される。僕が先に殺されたようにみんなも先に殺される。殺さなきゃ殺す、殺さなきゃ殺される。殺さなきゃ。
カノンさん、本当に痛くないのか？
ああ、これですか。大した傷じゃありません。
大した傷じゃないどころか。
本当に大したことありません。こんなのもう全然痛くないし、本当に大した傷じゃない。
As Cannon said that, he began to untie the bandages that had been painstakingly wrapped. Yeah, he's definitely dead. I think this is Beatrice's magic. The gruesome hole in his chest was immediately exposed.
カノンさん、そんなことをしてはダメですよ。早く横になって。
ほら、ねえ、大した傷じゃないでしょ。
Oh, it's hot when he talks like that. Cannon showed off his gaping wound, which was still slowly spitting out foaming blood. Everyone averted their eyes reflexively.
ほら、全然大した傷じゃないですって。
やめなさい。
Maybe he's possessed by
傷をいじ
Satan
ってはいけま
because
せん。
Satan's the one who killed him.
見て、全然深い傷じゃないんですよ。ほら、ほら。
Cannon held up two fingers, showed them to everyone, and slowly started to stick them to the gruesome wound right in the center of his chest. Ew! Plunging, slimy, squishy, wet, the fingers went in deep, all the way to their bases. Ew!
カノンさん、やめて、やめて。
Those fingers were sticking all the way into his chest, up to their bases, and he slowly pulled them out exactly the same way. The fingers he pulled out were stained sticky, solid. This is gross! The fingers were covered up to their bases in deep red. Ew.
ね、全然大した傷じゃないでしょ。
I figured it was Beatrice. That moment, the door was slammed open and Shannon appeared. Or maybe it's one of the evil spirits from the mirror. Even after she saw Cannon stained with much blood, her impregnable expression
や
didn't
あ、姉さ
falter.
ん、どこへ行っていたの？僕が既得だというのに。一体どこへ？
ボイラー室に行ってきたの。探し物があって、それより確かめたいの。あなたは本当にカノン君。
It was only natural. Everyone believed he was Cannon. so they couldn't understand the meaning of Shannon's question. When they looked, they noticed Shannon was holding a handkerchief in her hand. It was filthy and looked like it had been used to wipe up some trash or dust, and while holding that, she approached Cannon, drawing closer to his feet.
なんだいそれは。
蜘蛛の巣を拭き取ったハンカチよ。
なんでそんなものを。
カノン君なら平気だろうけど、もしあなたにとって蜘蛛が天敵だったなら嫌うかなって思って。
やだな。僕がどうして雲を嫌うの。
ごめん、試すね。
シャノンさん。
When Shannon brought that handkerchief close to Cannon's thigh, something happened in an instant. Happened all at once. The human eye couldn't have followed it. Cannon jumped like a wild goat, fleeing from the thing Shannon was holding. Then from his arm, some kind of afterglow flashed purple and drew a curve through space. That arc, which drew 3 beautiful purple curves, traced across the throats of Nanjo and Kumasawa, who had been tending to him, and in an instant Nanjo and Kumasawa's throats opened like gaping mouths, and then blood really started spewing out. The third purple curve should have traced across Shannon's throat, but Shannon wasn't there, because Genji, who had been behind her, wrapped his own arm around Shannon's neck and pulled her back. This all happened in an instant. In instant I go to think fast and attempt to understand this scene. The frozen moment in time shattered. Blood was gushing from Nanjo and Kumasawa's torn open necks. Cannon jumped and kicked off a picture frame that had been hanging from the wall behind him, stringing forward just like a cat and aiming for Shannon's throat again. But Cannon's target once again disappeared in front of him because Genji had pulled Shannon again. The two of them fallen to the ground in a defensive crouch.
いい反射神経だ。この老いぼれ家具が。
5だ。
Even Goto was no fool. Even if he couldn't fully understand what was going on, he at least realized that if this cannon wasn't seized, his own life would also be in peril. He sprung at Can with his huge body, pushing him up against the wall with all his weight and physical strength. Another purple curve was drawn from the tips of the fingers of Cannon's right hand. And when he raised that hand like a sword, aiming for Goto's back, there was a loud thunk. Because Cannon's raised hand had been pinned to the wall, he couldn't tear his palm away from the wall. Sticking out from it was the knife that Genji had thrown. Under normal circumstances, it would have been surprising to see someone as old as Genji handle a knife so skillfully, but in this abnormal space, no one paid it much mind.
Genji-sama, これを。
Genji took the handkerchief with the spider web stuck to it from Shannon. As he approached Cannon, who was pinned to the wall by Gota's massive body and the knife.
やめろ。それは近づけるな。やめろ。やめ。
When Genji pushed the handkerchief up against Cannon's face, there was a sound just like setting meat on a red-hot iron plate. Of course, the smell was the same too, as he was horribly burned, festering in filthy red and black, and crying out his death throes. Cannon's body burst open and scattered. It was almost as though a balloon filled with gold leaf had popped. The entire servant room was completely buried under a storm of gold leaf. No, a cloud of gold butterflies. Those butterflies began to softly fade, as though into water, rather into the empty air itself. And afterwards, all that was left were 3 survivors sitting on their butts, stained with blood. However, not everyone was merely stained with blood. Some of them were lying on the ground, spurting out blood themselves.
Kumasawa, Nanjo sensei.
Slits so sharp they looked like they'd cut your fingers if you touched open them open wide, and large amounts of blood kept pouring out.
何だったんだ。いや、今のは。
ゴーダ、怪我はないか。
私は大丈夫です。しかし、私たちは何を見たんだ。何があったんです。私はあれを確かにこの手で、その私が何があったのか理解できない。
Goda looked at his own hand. The bright red blood left from his scuffle with Cannon definitely remained. And yet Cannon was nowhere to be seen because he had disappeared. He had transformed into golden butterflies and scattered. Goda kept screaming alone, without a clue about what was going on. Cannon stopped in front of Nanjo and Kumasawa's remains, as Genji watched over, silent as always.
「南條先生と熊沢さんが一体どういうことなの？」
ああ、シャノン。君に何かあったら僕は。
庄司様。
ジョージ君、少し静かにして。あなたたちの目の前で殺人が行われたんでしょ。犯人を見たの？見ないの？
それが何と説明すればいいのか。源氏さん。
私たちにも見たものをうまく説明できません。
確かにそれは私たちの目の前で起こりました。私の目の前にいた。だけれどあれは何だったんだ。私にもわからないんです。
何を言ってるの？あなたが出会ったのは昨夜から所在不明の魔女ベアトリーチェか、行方不明になっているカノン君、男か女、それだけでも答えられるでしょう。
ローザおばさん、少し落ち着く。目の前で二人やられりゃ誰だって混乱だってする。ゴダさん、源氏さん、焦らなくていいぜ。何があったのか順を追って話してくれ。
それが何を
Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa had been killed. We understood that much, and it seemed that it had occurred in front of these people's eyes. But even so, they spoke awkwardly. They admitted they had definitely seen the crime with their own eyes. But when asked to explain what they had seen, their mouths went suddenly shut. I could understand why Aunt Rosa was irritated and flaring up.
シャノン、君は見たのかい？南條先生が襲われるところを。僕に教えて。分かることだけでもいい。一体何があったの？
来たんです。
そうで、勝手口に誰かがやってきたんです。そして誰だろうと私は扉を開け。
勝手口に誰か？それは誰？
最後まで。それから
そいつは血まみれで大怪我をしていました。私たちは使用に室に運び、すぐにとても。
だからそれは誰のことなの？
わからないんです。確かに最初はそうだっけや。でもわからない。わからない。
In a manner that didn't match his large body, Golda held his head and scratched at it. I didn't have a clue if he was confused because if he couldn't remember because he'd seen something terrifying and couldn't accept it. And Shannon looked the same way. If she had let her guard down, what she'd seen just a short while ago would quickly melt away like a daydream, and she wouldn't be able to remember anything. That's what she looked like. Only Genji looked composed as usual, so the questions were naturally directed at him. However, Genji took quite some time before he spoke, and he had to gather his
源氏
thoughts.
さん、あなたは見たんでしょう。勝手口に来たのは誰？
はじめ、私たちはその人物が
ほら、やっぱり生きて、私の推理は正しかった。
初めはってことは、後に。
はい、その後に起こったことは口では説明。南條先生と熊沢を殺し、その時彼は間違いなくカノンではありません。
そうなんです。源氏さんの言う通り、口ではとても説明できない。
君も同じ意見なのかい？
はい、私も同じことしか申し上げ。
If we give their claims the benefit of the doubt, it means Aunt Rosa's first conclusion was correct. No, it doesn't. Cannon had appeared near the back door to the kitchen with a serious injury, then he had been taken to the servant room and cared for. And after that, something terrifying had happened. So were these people convinced that Cannon-kun couldn't possibly have done such a thing? That they'd started to suspect whether it had been Cannon-kun at all? In other words, that means Cannon-kun did appear, no matter how confused they are. No matter how they muddle their words, that's what it means in the end. So does that mean after all, Cannon-kun used some trick to escape that room even though it was locked? No, that doesn't matter anymore. The real problem is that Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa were killed. Aunt Rosa had claimed that Cannon-kun was behind this from the very beginning. No matter how confused these people are, no matter how much they try to deny it, they're halfway confirming that she was right. But even so, for some reason, I felt like their awkwardness couldn't be explained by confusion alone. What they see, like they said, they really see something that couldn't be explained with words. Aunt Rosa, who decided that further talk wouldn't get us anywhere, concluded her questioning and said she wanted to check the two bodies. That was something I'd been wanting to do too. The witnesses had been able to figure anything out, but they'd been shaken. If those of us who hadn't been at the scene calmly looked at the corpses, we might find something. But it was a little surprising to learn that Aunt Rosa was also concerned about the bodies. Even at this point, I still wanted to use any clues I could to expose the culprit and the truth about itself, but it should have been different in Aunt Rosa's case. Hadn't Aunt Rosa prioritized staying safe over finding the culprit? I couldn't really see why she would go through all the trouble of leaving our barricade in the parlor just because she wanted to check on the bodies.
みんなで一緒に使用人室に行きます。全員一緒に行動すれば安全よ。マリア、落書き遊びはおしまいになさい。
おお、落書きじゃない。ベアトリーチェの問題を解いてるの。おお。
ベアトリーチェの問題？何のことだよ。俺にも。
ローザおばさん、マリアちゃんも。
Seeing that George Aniki was the idea of bringing Maria to the bloody crime scene. But considering that Maria would be alone if I left here, it'd be much safer to take Maria with us. But in the end, it was just Aniki's irresponsible humanism. We decided that all of us, including Maria, would go to the servant room. The bed in the servant room was stained with bright red blood. No, not just the bed. The whole room was covered with a gruesome paint from countless bloodstains. The dreadful scene alone was enough to give us an idea of the repulsive sight I've been trying to describe.
おお、マリアも見る。
マリアちゃんは僕と一緒にここで待ってよね。
George Aniki was standing by the entrance, covering Maria's eyes with his back to the room. He probably didn't want to dirty an innocent girl's retinas with the repulsive blood in this room. That's fair. I'm actually a lot more tired than I realized. I thought I was going to be able to play a lot of Umineko, but I'm thinking of just ending here and maybe streaming a little later tomorrow. Try and do a longer stream next time and throw in some other games too. But I do want to continue, like I'm still interested. I don't really know what the hell is going on anymore. Because we know that Beatrice killed Cannon and Jessica, but apparently we know she can also bring back people to life, so maybe that's what she's doing and fucking with Ganon's corpse. I'm not really sure, there's a lot going on. But yeah, thank you for watching if you did at any point. Sorry it was a shorter stream today. Or, I might be back later. Or tomorrow, like I said. But thank you again. And I hope everyone has a good rest of their day or night or whatever it is. So, yeah, thank you. And I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.